Welcome back to Ask This Old House, where we'll go anywhere to answer your home improvement questions. Today we're going to be splitting some wood. Oh yeah! There are a lot of paintbrushes out there, and we're going to show you how to pick the right one.
And a homeowner needs my help right here in the man cave.
And we'll ask, what is it?
How many times a year do you go up and clean your gutters?
Oh, I send my wife up there at least twice a year.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Okay, Roger, just dropped myself another tree.
Didn't hear you yell timber.
Yeah, well, it was a little tree, not much of one.
Well, sometimes cutting them down is the easy part. Cutting them the length and then splitting them into firewood, that's where the real work comes in play.
And we've got enough right here that's cut the length, but we don't have them split, so let's talk about that. And even though you might use an axe to take down a tree, you wouldn't use an axe to split wood.
No, you take a look at this head, Kevin. This is made to cut. See how thin the profile is?
Right.
So it's made to go in and cut fibers, all right? But when you're splitting, you want to drive it down in, you want to separate the wood. So if I try to split with that, it won't go through it, and it just sticks right into the wood.
So you're fussing with it, trying to get it out.
There you go. Now you got it. So let's start with the simplest way to split wood, and that's with a wedge and a sledgehammer. You got your glasses?
I do. Throwing them on right now. I will grab the sledgehammer.
And I will grab the wedge. So what we're going to do, I trust you, right?
I'll try to be careful.
Now you can see this is quite a bit of work, and it involves two guys. Okay, let me get out of the way.
Okay.
There you go.
So really nothing to it, but only after you've set the wedge.
Right, a bit of work to do that. So that's why they developed a tool called a maul. This actually combines the weight of the sledgehammer with the wedge.
Huh.
This is called a monster maul. Feel how heavy that is?
Oh yeah,
I'm going to set this for you. Now all you have to do is lift that one and drop it. You don't have to swing hard, and it's going to split it.
You want me to split this guy?
Go right ahead.
Okay, heads up. Oh yeah.
Flying, huh?
Wheeling that over your head all day, you're going to get really worn out.
Well, that's 25 or 30 years old. Take a look at a more modern version. You see that right there? See how skinny that is? It goes into the wood easier, but then it opens up. This is really wide, so it needs all that weight to drive it. This one's a little thinner. It'll go in a little easier.
Now, you've got a sledgehammer on the back, so it's really a two-in-one tool, right? So if you were using a wedge, you can actually use the back of this.
You can drive it in with the back of this and then turn it around and use this on the smaller pieces. But even better than this, Kevin, take a look at this. This is called a splitting axe. You can see it has that sharp line to it for the blade, and then a big wedge, which is going to really open up that wood.
Wow, nothing to it at all.
No, and that's what makes this different from an axe or a splitting maul. You're going to drive this very quickly, very fast, and it's going to go right down through the wood.
I'll split this guy here.
Well, Kevin, I want you to notice a couple things. See how I have you putting this up on top of another one? It's for two reasons. One, if this is on the ground, it's easy to go by it and hit your feet.
Come down like this, right?
The other thing is if this is sitting on the ground, you don't get as much oomph out of it because the ground will give a little bit. You get good solid contact here. Because what I want you to do is always make sure you hit the log nice and square like that. If you hit the log on an edge, the axe will come right back at you. The other thing is to have a nice clear area for you to work in.
Okay, clear area, wood is raised up, good stance, here we go. Wow.
Pretty good, huh?
Unbelievable, yeah, really light, easy to use. I can do this all day.
Well, you could do it all day, but if I'm going to split wood, I'm going to use some power equipment, so come with me.
I got nothing against power equipment.
Kev, take a look at this. This is a small little electric splitter. Easy to get around, lightweight, but it has some limitations, and this is about the largest log you'll be able to split on it. So you just drop the log on, hit the buttons.
Go, baby, go. That's not bad.
But it costs about $400. Now, here's a machine that you can rent for the day. Take a look at this.
Ooh, this is a beast, Roger.
This is a gas-powered splitter with a big hydraulic piston on it that drives the wedge. You get it at a rental yard, you just hook it up to your car, tow it home. Now, the thing about this is it can split any size wood, Kevin. Anything you can get on there, it'll split.
Put some hearing protection on.
I'm going to crank it up.
Tell you what, Roger, for my money, this is the tool.
With this tool, you can split your whole winter supply in one day.
Yeah, I think you could. Let's get to it. When it comes to painting, there is the technique, and then there's the tool, which we all know is a paintbrush. And if you've ever walked the aisles of the home center, you also know that there are a lot of paintbrushes on the shelves. So to help us pick the right brush, we've got a professional painter, Jeff Young, with us. Jeff, let's talk about which brush we grab for what project.
Well, it depends what you're painting with. There's oil-based paints and there's water-based paints.
Okay.
For oil-based paints, I generally prefer to use a Chinese bristle brush. It's a natural bristle, and it's actual animal hair.
And why do you like that kind of brush?
Well, they're very soft. They tend to be a little bit stiffer than synthetic brushes.
Yeah.
They can push the heavy-bodied oil paints versus the lighter weight water-based paints. So you can move the paint around on whatever surface you're painting and apply a nice uniform coat. Now, if you ever use this in a water-based paint, you ruin the brush.
It's just going to destroy it, right?
That's right. The bristles will absorb the water, they'll expand, and it becomes basically a dust brush.
Okay, so let's talk about what we use for a water-based paint.
Well, for water-based paints, there's a synthetic brush. It's made out of nylon and polyester.
Right.
They don't absorb the paint. The paint tends to collect between these bristles. So they have to actually machine distress the bristles so that it delivers the paint in the same fashion as a Chinese bristle brush in a nice uniform coat.
And so only for water-based paints here?
No, you can actually use this in oil-based paint as well.
You can.
The only disadvantage is it's a little bit softer than the Chinese bristle.
Right.
But they've actually developed a new product, more sophisticated in design. They've added a third fiber into these bristles, add some stiffness to it, and my guys tend to prefer these over the Chinese bristle brushes.
All right, that's good to know. So let's talk about what makes a good brush and what goes into, say, a cheaper brush. What are the characteristics that you're looking for?
Well, the construction of the brush is important. It's pretty clear in this one here. You've got 3 nails going through a wood handle. On the cheaper brush, you've got a plastic handle. The metal ferrule is simply stamped onto this plastic handle. So it's in use, it's going to loosen up, and I've actually had these fall off while I'm painting.
Really? All right, so you're looking for a good, well-affixed ferrule.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also, the bristle quality is going to be an important thing. If you can open the brush up in the store, feel the tip. It should feel nice and soft. That's the part that's going to be applying the paint. That's the last part to touch the paint, and you want it to be nice and smooth.
And you're saying on a nice brush that softness comes from it being distressed?
Right. These are machine distressed. It's called flagging.
Yeah.
And it lets the paint release the paint in a nice, even fashion.
Is that what explains the different color here on the tip?
That's right.
Oh, I never knew that. And so this guy doesn't have the different color. This has not been what you call flagged?
Right. This is just simply machine chopped.
Oh.
So it's a straight cut. One of the other disadvantages with the cheaper brush is it tends to have fewer bristles as well. If you look inside the brush, you can see
That piece of wood right there.
that's right. That's the ferrule. That's a pretty big void. That's going to fill up with paint as you paint through the day, collect and run down your hand. You're going to be a mess at the end of the day.
All right, and you're saying that I'm not going to see as much of a void in a nice brush like this.
No, this is fairly full. You're paying a little extra, but you're getting a lot more.
All right. Let's talk about cost very quickly because you say we're going to pay a little extra. How much extra are we going to pay for a good brush versus a cheap brush?
Probably about twice as much.
Really? Okay. All right, good to know. One last thing is I want to talk to you about the shape here because you brought a couple different kinds. We've got the square cut and then we've got the angle cut. And when are you reaching for one of these?
Well, generally, I prefer a square cut if you're doing large amounts of surface. If you're painting clapboards in a house, barn board, you want a larger brush to hold more paint to cover a larger area. The angle brush tends to be used for more detail-oriented things like windows, if you have to get into corners and where you really want to have a nice, careful line.
Yeah.
This gives you a lot more control.
So the angle brush is all about control for you. Great. All right. Well, I think I know what kind of brush I need to buy when I go to the store. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
All right, guys, it's red, it's plastic, and it's almost sword-like.
Sure.
What is it?
Yeah, okay, Zorro. Give me that thing right there.
Did he call me Zero?
There are always a few things that I keep in my golf bag at all times. Sunscreen.
Mr. Freckle.
Yep. A little bit of a beverage.
Yes.
And this.
What is this?
They call it the gimme.
The gimme.
Yeah, you got all
Tell
the
us more.
clubs, you know, the driver, the wedge, the irons, and when you get on the green, there's nothing more frustrating than being like 20 feet from the hole.
Yes.
So this guy, huh? You could putt the ball to the hole, or you could bring the hole to the ball.
Make your own hole.
I just make my own hole, and I always put it at about like 18 inches from the hole.
That's a gimme.
That's a gimme. It's awesome. It's taking 18 strokes off my game. You don't want to play after me.
That's right.
Play with
There's
you.
a little dirt mark. Well, I tell you, when the kids join the plumbing industry, this is one of the first tools they throw in the belt like this. You know, you carpenters use tape measures. This is the hole meter.
Hole meter.
Hole meter. Yeah. Looking at these pipes, and you know, to our eye, we know there's a size difference. Right?
Yeah, you can see right here that this pipe right here is much bigger than this one.
Right, but a lot of people don't have your trained eye, Tom. This really helped them to see that this is 1.5 inches, this is 2 inch, and this is 3 inch. See that?
Oh, so it's the same diameter that it says on the side of the pipe.
They learn to read later.
And this right here is not for hanging on your belt.
No?
It's for hanging on your gutter.
Oh, so you can measure the diameter of your gutter.
No, so you can't lose it. How many times a year do you go up and clean your gutters?
Oh, I send my wife up there at least twice a year.
Yeah, I doubt that. Well, you hang it on the side of your gutter, you know exactly where it is. You take your ladder over, you put it up beside it. Now you have the tool ready to clean those gutters. Get in there and all that sludge. Drag it out and it sticks to it. All right? Take it out and you just whip it right over and it sticks to your neighbor's roof and your gutters are clean.
You can't do that.
Yes, I can. Oh, yeah, it's
Guys,
about 50 feet.
You've been bad in the past, but today you are pathetic. Kevin, I got to take you outside. We're going to show these guys what this is really for.
Oh, good.
Kevin, whenever you're snow blowing, sooner or later you're going to clog the machine.
I just did.
You did a great job, but when you're working on a big banking like this, or you're working in heavy wet snow, it can get jammed up inside. And that's where this comes in place. It hangs on your machine. It's called a snow stick, and it helps you clear snow that's jammed in the machine. You have a large auger in front right here that I'm just going to take and clear using this. And then what I'll do is come around and I'll clear the impeller, which is inside the machine. And then I'm going to clear the chute.
And even with the snow stick, never do this with the machine on.
I never take a chance. I always shut the machine down.
All right, good tips, Roger. You know, it's going to be a little difficult golfing with all this snow.
Yeah, but you can clear the green and we can putt. Get to work.
All right, get my bag.
I have a great family room down here, a big screen TV, pool table. Over in this area is my bar. It's a semi-wet bar. You have a sink here that has running water, but it doesn't drain to anywhere. Back here is the back side of the bar. This is how we drain the water. What I have to do every 2 hours is check the bucket to make sure that it doesn't overflow. And I also have to remind people not to use the sink that often because I'll have a flood.
Well, Ken, what is not to love about this man cave? There's a TV, a pool table. Look at this great bar. Now, what's the vintage of this decor?
1981, 1982.
An era I'm very familiar with, unfortunately, I guess. Now, you did this plumbing job back then.
Yes.
That's 30 years.
Yes.
Came not a moment too soon, I guess. Huh?
No, you didn't. But you don't want to rush into these things.
Well, this is something that might not have been around 30 years ago. This is actually called a laundry tray pump. It's going to mount underneath a bar sink or a utility sink right here. And below it has a pump and a motor, a little float switch right here. And when water comes down into this chamber, the float switch brings on the pump, and it pushes water out here. It can push it up as high as 14 feet, and it can connect back into the drainage system. So our job starts by getting rid of this old pipe. Now, this sink has a trap. We're going to get rid of that because the pump actually acts as a trap. Loosen the nuts. Okay. Get the water out of there. I'm also going to remove this basket strainer. It's pretty loose. I'm going to put a new one in. I'll just do it with my hands. Good. So this is a new basket strainer, the part you see in any kitchen sink. Here's the stopper right here. Now underneath, it has a couple of nuts. This one connects the pipe to the bottom of the basket strainer, and this lock nut would connect the basket strainer to the bottom of the sink just to compress it. But we're not going to use either one of these. What we are going to do is to use this upper portion. I'm going to put some putty right here, put this down into the sink. This comes behind it, underneath the sink. Then we're going to make a nice tight seal with some Teflon tape, an O-ring right here, and we're going to screw it right down in to make a positive seal. And this will actually compress up against the bottom of the sink when we tighten it up. All right, a little bit of putty right around this strainer. That'll make a nice tight seal to the sink. Okay. All right, putty's done, and I just want to put a little bit of Teflon tape on these threads right here. Okay, now there's a gasket here in the bottom basket. Now there's a series of gaskets, a fiber gasket and then an O-ring. Fiber gasket first, and then the O-ring. All right, Ken, pass me that pump, would you? Thank you. So this is a threaded adapter that goes right onto the pump. A little bit of Teflon tape. Try not to cross the threads. So now I've adapted this threaded adapter onto the pump, and now these PVC pieces will get me through into the next room. To be sure I glue it together correctly, I'm just going to install a few witness marks that I'll line up when I'm gluing it together. Good. I use a cleaner and a glue. And hold it for a 5 count. That should do it. Lucky for us, a lot of our work can be done right in here in this laundry room in the wall right behind that bar sink. You can see the hot and the cold supply piping for water to the sink. Here's our drain that's coming from that new pump. But now we need to connect this pump into the existing drainage system for the house. So this is actually the drain that comes from the kitchen sink upstairs. It runs this way. We're going to cut in this Y fitting right here, and then we'll connect this 1-inch PVC from this point right down to our pump. So a little more cutting and piping. Now I just want to mark the existing 2-inch kitchen sink drain that I need to cut out to accept my Y. 30 years of kitchen sink waste. All right, now we've cut out the pipe, but there's no real wiggle room. This pipe doesn't have any place, so I can't push it out of the way to allow me to get this fitting in. So I'm going to have to make another cut right here and install a no-hub coupling to allow me to get the wiggle room I need. Just give me that bucket. Come to me. Good. All right, Ken, this pipe is completely clogged. You can see right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do all of our new piping, and then after the fact, I'll run a snake down there, okay? So we can continue by cleaning this piece and this piece. All right, now I'm going to install my no-hub coupling onto this piece of pipe. Now just hand me that glue, Ken. Be ready. I'm going to make this connection. All right, just bring that can up to me, would you, right there? Good. So now I'm going to glue the pipe, and I'm going to go inside the fitting. Okay, good. So now you can see the beauty of this no-hub coupling, because I can just slide that coupling right down over that splice and then tighten it up. All right. If it leaks, we'll blame you.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got all of this piping dry fitted, meaning not glued. But you can see now the water's going to leave that pump. It's going to come up this way and go up into the drain line right here. But not all the water will get out of this pipe before the pump shuts off. So we don't want that water falling back down, making the pump come back on again. So one device that's installed right here is designed to protect that pump, and it's called a check valve. Let me show you how it works. So now, if you look inside here, there's a little flapper that lets the water go in this direction and this direction only. It can go this way. It can't go this way. So that goes right here. Now, the other issue we have is that this pump is strong. You can put up more than 20 gallons a minute. Now, the faucet can only give you, what, 3 to 5 gallons a minute to the sink.
So what you're saying is that the pump is actually discharging more water than the sink can supply.
That's right. So if we don't do something about it, you turn that faucet on, and it's running, all of a sudden the pump is on and off, on and off, on and off, and that'll shorten the life of the pump. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this ball valve on the discharge. So what we're actually going to do is actually close down the size of the discharge so the pump will be able to pump less. We're going to try to match the discharge rate to the rate of the faucets, and that'll make the pump stay on longer and last longer.
Oh, great.
All right, we are ready to glue this all together and plug it in. And then we just add water. So you can hear it coming on and off. See how fast it's pumping? So fast it's leaving that float switch. All right, just go in and close down that ball valve for me, will you? Turn it until the pump stays on longer. I think you got it. You officially have a full wet bar.
Richard, I really appreciate it. I don't know how to thank you.
We could probably work something out, I bet.
That was a nice fix. But the entire time, I just kept looking at that drain line coming from the kitchen and how nasty it was.
It was all filled up, but we ran the snake down that kitchen drain. It's running fine now.
Oh, that was nice of you.
Thank you. Now, underneath that sink downstairs, we had a unit that attached to the underside of the sink, but there are other choices. This is actually a reservoir that has a pump in it and a float. Now, with a unit like this, we could have put this in the next room and not had it be seen underneath the sink.
And it just plumb right to it.
Comes to it, has a float, and it discharges right here. Now, a lot of people might have a room like that, and they want to have a bathroom down in the basement. So for that, you would need something like this. It's sort of the bigger version of this. It's called a sewage ejector. There's a pump in it. It's also a macerator or grinder, and that can pump up. But this has to be dug into the floor. Here's the drain for the toilet right here. It's a big job to break open the concrete and get it down below grade.
So this little guy just handles liquids, but this bigger one can handle liquids and the solid that comes from the toilet?
That's right. And if you don't want to go to that extreme, this is a pretty interesting solution right here. This is actually a toilet, and it comes to this tank into the back. Now, this would also have a macerator or grinder with a pump. But it gives you the chance to also bring a shower or a sink right here. So you can have a full bathroom being serviced off of this thing, but it's above the grade. You don't have to dig into the floor.
Well, that's nice. So there are a lot of options actually putting the bathroom down in the basement these
Absolutely.
days. All right, good information, guys. Thank you. And if you've got questions about your house, we'd love to hear from you. So keep your letters and your emails coming. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Connor.
I'm Richard Dewey.
I'm Roger Cook.
And I'm Tom Silver for Ask This Old House. You went back and cleaned out that guy?
I did. I couldn't leave it like that.
Did you whack him with a big bill?
No, of course not.
Next time on Ask This Old House.
We'll go anywhere to answer your home improvement questions.
Kevin, there are plenty of places in the house where you can get water damage. toilets, faucets, pipes inside the wall, even the heating system piping.
So I thought we would walk through a house with someone from the insurance industry and have them point out the places where you might get water damage and offer some tips to prevent it.
And I'll show you how to build a tool cabinet for your workshop step by step.
That's next time on Ask This Old House. If you have a question about your house or a tip you'd like to share, please let us know. Visit our website, pbs.org, for expert advice, step-by-step videos, and much more. This Old House magazine, the companion to the television series, provides advice from our experts that you've come to know. You can use your credit card to order 10 monthly issues for $10 by calling 1-800-221-5900.